Testing 1, 2.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the closed session City Council meeting for November 5th, and we will open the meeting at 5 o'clock. And can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White said he would be running late. Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here. And do we have any public comments for any items on closed session?
I have no written requests. Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Pinckney, can you read the items for discussion?
Yes, item B1 is conference with labor negotiators. The city designated representative is Elizabeth Gibbs and Administrative Services Director Carrie Mendoza. The organizations are police managers, SEIU, Police Officers Association, Managers Professional Technical. Item B2 is real property negotiations, and the property is described in the agenda. The agency negotiator is City Manager Elizabeth Gibbs, and the negotiating parties are the City of Beaumont as potential purchaser and Lassen Development Partners LP as potential seller. And then item B3 is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, potential initiation of litigation, 2 potential cases.
All right, thank you. Please note that Mr. White has arrived at 5:01, and we will adjourn to closed session at 5:01. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is the regular session of the City Council meeting for November 5th, and we'll call the meeting to order at 6:17. And can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here, thank you. And Mr. Pinckney, can we get a report out on closed session?
Yes, the council met in closed session. Item B1 was conference with labor negotiators. The units were police managers, SEIU, Police Officers Association, and managers professional technical. There was reportable action. There was a motion authorizing the city manager to execute a side letter to cover annual increases in premiums for healthcare insurance for the SEIU and the POA. And the motion was, the first was made by Councilmember White and the second by Mayor Finn, as I heard it. And the vote was Mayor Finn in favor, Councilmember Laura in favor, Councilmember Voigt in favor, Councilmember White in favor, and Councilmember Martinez in favor. So that item passed. There was no action in closed session regarding the police managers or managers professional technical because they're not represented in agreements with them can't be approved in closed session. Item B2 was conference with real property negotiators. That item was not discussed in closed session. And then item B3 was conference with legal counsel, and this involved two potential cases, and there was no reportable action taken on those items.
All right, thank you, sir. And do we have any requests for excused absences? None, seeing none. Okay, we will open our meeting this evening with an invocation by Pastor McAllister. Immediately following that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember White.
Good evening. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day, this time. And on this election night, I'm reminded of your words in 1 Timothy 2, 1-2, where you say, I pray for all people. Ask God to help them, intercede on their behalf, and give thanks for them. Then you tell us, pray this way for kings and all who are in authority, so that we can live peaceful and quiet lives, marked by godliness and dignity. And so, Father, tonight I pray for these leaders. I pray that you would help them, that you give them the wisdom to make great decisions and the courage to see them through. I give thanks for them, for their service, for the way that they lead us. And now, Father, I pray for our city, for our state, and our country on this election night, that you would help us live peaceful and quiet lives, marked by godliness and dignity. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge for me. Ready? Begin.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any adjustments to tonight's agenda? Okay, thank you. Any conflicts of interest? Okay, seeing none for tonight, thank you. And so we're on to item E, our announcements and recognitions. First, item E1 is our Waste Management Recycling All-Star Awards. And do we have a presenter for that? No, there we go.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Once a year, Waste Management recognizes one resident and one residential or commercial customer that has excelled in recycling. To present tonight is James Delgado from Waste Management.
Good evening, Mayor Finn, City Council, city staff, and the community of Beaumont. Like she mentioned, I'm James Legato with WM. And tonight we're here to honor the city of Beaumont's 24 All-Star Recycling All-Stars. They are recognized for their excellent efforts in recycling, a part of the WM program of the All-Star Recycling Program. We are thrilled to honor these customers who are doing their part to recycle right and to recycle often. Each individual action helps conserve natural resources, as we work together to help the city of Beaumont to meet state recycling mandates. As part of this program, WM drivers nominate these customers on their respective routes to two criteria. How cleanliness is their recycling containers and how often do they recycle? And make sure that it's not contaminated, such with grass clippings or trash garbage. And may I call up the 2024 All-Stars to come forward to receive their awards and gift. The first is In and Out from 355 for the commercial recycling, and the second is Kenneth Logan for the residential. Unfortunately, today's election night, and they couldn't make it. But as you can see, we have amazing WM model trucks.
That's
These
cool.
are metal, and these are really cool. I wish I could have one. But we will personally deliver to these customers who have shown excellence in recycling. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. That's about 10 of those. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item E2, and we'll have Chief Tillis present that for us.
Oh, I wasn't sure if he didn't show because it was election
He's
night.
in the
as-
corner.
As well. Hey there. So, well, good evening, Mayor and Council. And so I'm going to keep my words brief. What can you really say for an individual that has served an honorable career for 32 years and decided to grace us with 29 of those 32 years that he's dedicated compassionately, earnestly, skillfully for the last 29 years. And as you can see, that's just a small representative of the men and women that support him. Captain Greg Fagan, I'd like to invite him forward.
Speech?
Speech. No, it's just been an honor and a pleasure. This city's been in my life all these years, even into high school, playing against Mickey Valdivia in baseball, basketball, all these things. So this is it's been a great run, but I'm ready to move on. I'm happy to. But it was great for my family. I even coached football here when I started. My kids, some of city employees' kids and stuff. So I've invested fully in this city and just they've done the same to me and my family, and I appreciate everything and everybody here. So had people here at my wedding, and it's just been a family for me for all these years, and I appreciate everybody. So thank you.
So on behalf of the city, a plaque of your appreciation. What I was going to say is, what do you say? And the only thing I can say is thank you, certainly for everything you meant to me and for this organization. And of course, more to come at your
Thank you.
the other thing.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
I'm a good human being.
You are a good human being. You want to
Thank you.
come up and
Yeah, come on up. Front center. All right, here, we got McKay over here.
Okay. Thank you. Again.
So Captain Fagan, congratulations, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors, and enjoy time with family. Yeah, did you see the video? You see there?
Looks like a cadet.
All right, super. All right, again, congratulations, thank you so much. So we're on to item F, our public comment period. Do we have any public comments for any items that are not on tonight's agenda?
Yes, sir, I have one written comment.
Okay, and so just as a reminder, we have a 3-minute time limit on our public comments.
This comment is from David Castaldo. Thank you for these few minutes to address the council. When the original memorial in front of the Civic Center was dedicated many years ago, the BPD, Corporal Combato, affectionately known as Buddha, was unable to obtain a blue line flag in time for the dedication. Buddha, knowing that I had such a flag, asked me to donate my blue line flag to the city. I gladly did and was proud to do so. Please allow me to once again donate a flag to the much-loved city. This past summer, Vandalina and myself visited New York City when we paid our respects to the September 11th, 2011 memorial. I purchased a 9/11 memorial flag. This flag that I now present to the city was flown at the 9/11 memorial in New York City. This flag represents over 3,000 Americans, firefighters, policemen, and others that died on that day. Please fly this flag in the appropriate place that the City Council and City staff so desires. Thank you for serving the residents of our beautiful city and continuing to do your best to make Beaumont one of the best communities to live in. I love my community. Yours truly, David Castaldo.
All right, thank you, and
There's
thank
a
you,
flag
Mr.
up here.
Castaldo, for that. We appreciate that. That's very nice.
Mia,
Okay.
do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item G, our consent calendar. Do we have any items to be pulled for discussion?
Mayor, I'd like one item pulled just for some additional information. Item G7, the
G-
grants.
G7, okay.
That's all.
Any others? Okay, could I get a motion for the remaining items?
Mayor, I'll make a motion for consent items on G1, G2, G3, G5, G6, G4, 8, and 9. I went out of order.
You got 8 and 9 in there?
Yes, 8
Okay.
and 9.
All right. I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. And so, Mayor Pro Tem, I'll go to you for G7.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted a little bit more detail. Jennifer, if you can add that, July through September, right? That's?
Right, yes. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is your Quarter 1 grants report. A year tomorrow, we had a new position, that's our grants analyst. Brittany Novice, she's done wonderful. She's been a fantastic addition to the city. She's been able to coordinate efforts with our city departments, as well as grant writing efforts with CPPG and Mark Thomas. So your current active grants currently is $67 million. If you look, you have a detail attached to your report, which kind of looks like this page. It lists out every single active grant which the city has. There are some larger grants in there, such as the $33.5 million of TSEP and your $3.1 million for the Stewart Park. And I believe there's the $10.3 million for zero emissions infrastructure for transit. Other than that, they are continuously looking for funding opportunities and continuously applying. So this is your third report that you have gotten from the grants analyst, and you'll continue to get these.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I was just really impressed with the amount that we had, so thank you for that.
All right, well done, thank you. So can you get a motion for G7?
I'll make a motion to approve item G7 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. So on to item H, Youth Council report. Mr. Martinez, do we have one for tonight?
Just real quickly, so the youth council will be meeting next week, and we plan to go over goals and objectives, to maybe take a tour of the city hall. have staff showcase, and then maybe introduce the students to the park survey. And always, if any council member has any input or questions that they would like to have them discuss, feel free to do it during this time. But that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. And did we have any to pass on at the moment, or? Okay, so just future reference. Thank you. So we're on to item I, our public hearings. Item I1 is adoption and development of our impact fee nexus study and development impact fee schedule. We have a staff report by our finance director, Jennifer Eustace.
Yes, thank you again. This is a continuation from October 1st for DIF study. We, city staff had direction to work with our development community and come back, and it was rescheduled for today. We do have Carlos from Wildan here. He has a presentation ready, and he can go over some of those changes that took place since the last council meeting.
Great. Thank you. Carlos Villarreal with Wildan Financial Services. Happy to be here with you all again to review the council direction from the last meeting. I will summarize the changes that we've made since the last report, and then we will give some context to those changes with some updated fee comparisons. So the last time I was here, the direction was quite clear. It was to work with the development community stakeholders to revise the study and get their input on several key issues. Another piece of direction that we got was to add a big box retail prototype to the fee comparison.
Do you see the PowerPoint? No.
You can't see.
There you go, it's up now.
All right. Yeah, so that was the direction we received a little over a month ago when I was here last. So I will summarize the changes that we've made since the prior report. One big change is that the city had, since that last time I was in front of you, the city had adopted a new CIP on October the 15th, so we aligned all the project lists with that latest CIP. We also updated the analysis because we had the new CIP projects to use the most current unreserved impact fee fund balances to net that out of the calculation so that new development wouldn't be asked to pay for things that the city had already programmed in the CIP. One key issue was that the wastewater master plan had some inconsistencies with regards to how existing deficiencies were characterized. In one place it was showing as a deficiency, in another place it wasn't, so we verified with the wastewater master plan consultant that they were in fact deficiencies and removed those projects from the fee. Another big change had to do with the transportation facilities fee. If you all recall, there was quite a lot of discussion about perhaps using a blended trip rate for the high cube warehouse land use category. After discussions with the stakeholders and their consultants, it was decided that we would use the average rate to calculate existing and future trips, and then the fee schedule would have individual rates for the individual types of high cube warehouses. So so the fee schedule for the transportation facilities fee has now 4 additional fee categories. City staff thought it was important, though, that if you were to pay a fee at the lower rate, but later need to make a tenant improvement to be a more intense land use, that the city would be able to recoup the difference between the rate they'd paid originally and the higher, more intense land use. So that is a stipulation that's being included in the study. For the storm drain facilities fee, after discussion, it was decided that the fee would be calculated to only fund the storm drain master plan study. Until that study is complete, development will be responsible for mitigating all storm drain impacts on a case-by-case basis. And then once that master plan is complete, the city will come back and calculate a storm drain impact fee that new development could pay to mitigate their impacts at that point in time. With regard to the sewer capacity fee, we removed lift stations and conveyance facilities from the replacement cost of the facilities that new development is buying into, because those facilities are already being covered by the sewer facilities conveyance fee. So we're cleaning that up. And then finally, the road maintenance equipment fee is going away. In the latest CIP, there were no unfunded road maintenance equipment projects, so it was no longer appropriate to charge a fee for that category. One piece of information we just wanted to highlight does not affect the calculation of the fee, but the state has adopted SB 39. The big thing to keep in mind here is that for residential projects, going forward, They cannot be charged the fees until final inspection or certificate of occupancy, whichever occurs first. There's some other stipulations in that bill as well, but that's the big one that the city will need to be aware of going forward with regards to timing. Again, it doesn't affect the calculation of the fee, but we just thought it was helpful to highlight that to the city. In this update, like the prior update, we also included a prioritized project list. So that's one of the decisions that your council can weigh in on tonight. You see here the highlighted projects are the priority projects. And so, you know, if your council decides, you could choose to implement a transportation facilities fee funding just those projects. And this next slide demonstrates the difference between funding all of the projects or just funding the priority projects. For residential development, that would be about a 75 cents per square foot difference. It would be $6.12 cheaper for business park, $3.34 cheaper for, I'm sorry, the first $6.12 for commercial, $3.34 for business park, and between 27 and $1.75 for the high cube categories.
Excuse me, can we go back to that page? Is it possible to get the photograph of you removed or placed in a different? Perfect, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So the sum change, or this next slide summarizes all the changes with regards to the fee schedule. So you see there we have all the land use categories. Rather than just the single high cube category, there are now 4 high cube categories. They are all the same for all of the categories except for, again, the transportation related fees, which vary by trip generation rate for the various types of high cube warehouses that the city may see in the future. So at the bottom there, you see the total amount summarized for this fee schedule, and I've also included the September 9th revision so that you can see how the fees have changed for the various land uses. And now I will run through the fee comparison. We updated the fee comparison with the latest figures. All the same comments that I made to your council last time still apply. If there's a low and a high scenario, that's because fees in that jurisdiction may vary by zone. And so we're trying to bookend the range of possible fees that someone could be paying in that jurisdiction depending on where they build. This first comparison is for a single family unit of 2,687 square feet. And I should also say that for each of the cities, if they pay water or sewer fees for a particular district, those fees are all listed so that we're comparing apples to apples amongst all of the cities. And then this next slide here just summarizes the prior slide in a bar graph. You can see the city's current fees are there in the orange bars. The maximum justified fees supported by the most recent study are in the green bar, and then all the blue bars are the comparison jurisdictions. Completed that same comparison for 20 multifamily units. All of the same comments apply that I made for the single family comparison. And I'll just jump to the comparison here. In this case, the proposed fees would be the lowest amongst the jurisdictions included in the comparison. I should note, though, I've been giving this some thought. A lot of this depends on the size of the unit that we assume. So in this example, we assumed a 1,000 square foot unit. But of course, because the fees are calculated per square foot, if you build larger units, the fees would change proportionally. In the next comparison, we have a commercial retail property at 950 square feet, so a pretty small commercial property. And you can see the comparisons in this slide. I'll just jump to the next slide because I think that illustrates it a little bit better. You have the city's current fees in the orange bars and the maximum justified fee in the green bar there, which really falls within the range of the comparison jurisdictions. The new comparison that we added here was the big box retail at 147,000 square feet. So this is quite a bit larger than the prior example. All the same comments apply to this one as well. And I'll jump to the next slide to show you where your current and the proposed fees would compare to the comparison jurisdictions. And finally, or no, not finally, we have two more comparisons, I should say. This next one is for a 50,000 square foot business park. In the latest revision, I will note that the business park fee schedule increased compared to the prior study, based on the feedback that we got and the adjustments that we made. In this case, for this particular land use category, both the current fees were high, but certainly the maximum justified fees would be at the top of the range of the comparison jurisdictions. And now finally, the 100,000 square foot high cube warehouse. I should also say we had prepared a 1 million square foot, but the proportions were the same. So to make the presentation a little bit shorter, I cut the 1 million square foot example. Again, the proportion of the fees between the jurisdictions would have been the same in that example as well. And I will share the final comparison slide here that shows your current fees and the proposed fees compared to the comparison jurisdictions. So I will leave you with the staff recommendations. City staff recommends adopting the maximum justified fee amounts. City staff does not recommend a phased-in implementation, although in the agenda packet there was a 2-year and a 4-year phase-in fee schedule scenario for you all to consider. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have for me.
All right, thank you. I think at this point we'll go to our public comments. So we'll open our public hearing at 6:43. And do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. I'll go to the phone line first. Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
I have 2 written comments and then in person. I'll take the in person first. Mr. Bill Blankenship.
Is your microphone on? The little green button on the base of the microphone.
There we go.
There you are.
Got it.
Thank you.
I think my folder hit it. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, and staff. My name is Bill Blankenship, representing NAIOP Inland Empire Chapter. We're the association that represents the logistics industry, and I'm pleased to be here this evening. As you know, we've had many conversations here at the council in regards to your development impact fee over the last several months. And I'd like to thank the council for asking your staff to work with the industry to thoroughly go through and vet the Nexus study that's before you this evening. We're here tonight to ask you to adopt the Nexus study and to consider a phase-in agreement. I know there's 2 examples that staff has put before you, even though they are not recommending for you to approve them. There are 2 examples. I would ask you to, as you think about phase-in, think about those applicants who are in the approval pipeline and where they are, and understand that certainly that they have invested, in some cases, especially in our industry, the logistics industry, maybe millions of dollars from design and staff time and working with staff to get to the point where they are. And many times it will take several years before an EIR is circulated. So a lot of costs, a lot of design goes into these projects long before they ever get to a circulation of an EIR or even a planning commission hearing. I would also ask that you adopt the priority transportation projects. I believe that was something that came out of past discussions that the city council had here in this chambers in regards to it, the Nexus study, and ask that you consider adopting those. I believe that was direction that was given from council to staff, and I think staff is putting it back forward to you for ultimate decision on that. Again, I'd like to thank staff for working with the industry and your fee consultant and our fee consultant to work together. This last time since you all heard this was on October 1st. We had 4 meetings. So I think that demonstrates the level of work that went into it on both sides. And again, I'd like to thank staff for that process. I would respectfully ask that you adopt the Nexus study include the portion related to the priority transportation projects, and that you also consider a phase-in, especially for those who are in the approval process. Those will be the ones that will get caught because they have done their performance and probably did not consider a fee increase of this magnitude. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on behalf of the industry, and have a nice evening, and hope all the elections turn out well for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments.
I have a written comment. This is from Building Industry Association of Southern California. It says, Honorable Mayor and council members, on behalf of the Riverside County chapter of the Building Industry Association of Southern California and our hundreds of home builders, trade partners, and suppliers throughout our region, we are writing today regarding agenda item I-1, adoption of development impact fee nexus study and development impact fee schedule. I would also like to thank city staff and city consultant for their time over the past 6 months for allowing us the opportunity to review and provide comments on the nexus study. Throughout this process, we were able to meet with city staff and their consultant numerous times to share our concerns with the nexus study, as well as get answers to many questions we had. This collaboration and your receptiveness to our comments, concerns, and questions allowed us to verify and ensure the appropriate and applicable data sources were being utilized, as well as make sure that the facilities and the cost estimates in the nexus study aligned with the city's adopted capital improvement plan and existing fund balances. While the proposed increases before you are significant, we now believe this process and the work of your team has led to a fair nexus study. As you have discussed at previous council meetings, large development fee increases such as this one will have significant impacts on housing projects in Beaumont. To minimize the impacts on existing projects and those in the pipeline, we strongly encourage City Council to adopt a phased-in approach to these new fees. A phase-in of the fee over at least 1 year in at least 2 6-month increments should be the minimum phase-in for the council should consider. Thank you again for allowing us to comment on agenda item I-1, adoption development impact fee nexus study and development fee impact study. We respectfully request you adopt a minimum 1-year phase-in of the new fees as noted above, should you approve this agenda item. And I have another written comment. This is from a Jarnay Gardner. Good evening, council members. My name is Jarnay Gardner, and I represent the owners of Recorded Tract 32850, 95 lots in South Beaumont. I would like to thank you for revisiting the Nexus report from its hearing a couple months ago and your efforts to keep fees within reason. And reviewing the new Nexus study, I don't see that these fees are proposed to be phased in. This is very concerning for us now because in addition to the increase in building costs to meet the new design guidelines, it will be difficult for any builder to build within the city of Beaumont due to the high cost of fees. Not only is the DIF fee going up, but the TUMP fee has gone up over $5,000 per unit as well. These fees will have to be passed on to the home buyer, which will affect the sale price of the home. Beaumont is known to buyers as affordable. However, these fee increases will push sale prices beyond affordable. If they are not affordable, no builder is going to be able to buy the property and build homes in Beaumont. I can't stress how much we need the City Council's help to phase in these fees and give property values time to appreciate to help offset these fee increases. I respectfully ask that you reconsider and approve the 4-year phase-in strategy to keep builders building in the great city of Beaumont. Thank you. I have no other comments.
Okay, and then can you double check for any on the phones?
Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll turn the time, we'll close the public hearing at 6:51, and we'll turn the time over to council for questions and comments. Ms. Voigt.
Yeah, I think if you're okay with this, Mayor, I'd like to just start with my comments on the Nexus study first, and then kind of talk about the fees after that. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
At least for my
Time's
comments.
yours. Go
we
right
can do
ahead.
that. All right, first off, I wanted to really say thank you for the collaboration with the staff. It really felt like you guys got your hands dirty, you rolled up your sleeves, and you guys really went to work. And I appreciate that because I think that putting in that effort, hearing all sides really came together with a collaborative approach, which I think is something that this council has always sought for. It was one of our strategic goals to ensure that we have collaboration. I think that collaboration extends not only to other government entities, but also to our consumers and people that are coming, our business partners as well. So I really want to say thank you, and thank you for your leadership on that, Elizabeth, because I really think that we ended up with a good project, as we heard within our public comment, a good study, as we heard from our business partners. The other thing that I really wanted to ask are just a couple clarifying questions. Within, well, I guess that's fee related, hold on. And I think that might be fee related as well. Okay, so I asked to do it that way, and then all my questions are fee related. Here I thought I had them all organized. So now I'll move to the fees, or do you want to keep with the study?
Jump right in, go ahead.
Okay, very good. Then I have a couple of questions regarding the fees. And Carlos, these are for you. Within our agenda packet, there was discussion around some revenue loss. Can you kind of, with the phased-in approach,
Right.
can you discuss that calculation and let us know how that was determined?
Yeah, and I did not print it out, so I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can talk through what I did there. So essentially, there's a certain amount of growth that's going to occur in the city between now and build out. I used the last, I believe, 5 years of residential growth to estimate the annual number of dwelling units that would get built per year. And then with the two phased-in schedules, you know, we know what the fees would be in each of those years, and we also know what the maximum justified fee would be. So I would multiply the amount of units per year by the fee schedules, either the phased-in schedule or the maximum justified schedule, and then sum up the totals across each. And then the difference between the two would be the potential loss in revenue that the city would experience when phasing in the fees. And I did a similar calculation for non-residential. I will say, though, that, you know, we can do the math that way, and it's somewhat simple math, but really the market conditions are going to really guide or will inform or will drive the result of what the potential phase-in would be. So if the market gets hot and a lot of development occurs in the early years, then that loss from the phase-in would be a lot more than if the market cools down and there's no development occurring. So it's just, you know, it's an estimation, but that's the best we can do with the information that we have now.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to reconcile that within my mind to try and understand it. And you went along the lines with how I thought.
Yeah, we made an assumption about annual growth and used that to drive the calculations.
Okay, very good. The other question that I have is probably more towards staff. And the question is around current pipeline and what we have in the current pipeline within the next 2 years, and then also within the next 4 years of what we would think would be impacted by these changes. Do we have rough numbers of what we have currently in the pipeline? Planning.
And Ms. Voigt, to your question, is it residential or all categories?
Can we divide into all categories or try to do residential and non-residential as Carlos mentioned?
I have information on our industrial. Currently, we're processing about 26 million square feet of industrial right now. Some of those projects that have environmental impact reports do take time, sometimes a couple years, sometimes quicker. I think the quickest we did was 18 months with the previous project. We've got approximately 4,000 homes to be built in the area. We've got a couple multifamily projects coming in. For commercial, there's not a large amount of commercial that we're processing. We do anticipate commercial coming in, and I would say probably about 500,000 square feet of retail commercial.
And then probably the million-dollar question is, how much of that do you see occurring within the next 4 years? Are these fees impacting, or within the next 2? So these are the items that you said are in the pipeline. How many do you see hitting within a 2 or a 4 year timeframe?
It's hard to say. I think we'll see quite a bit of the residential coming through. The industrial, I think it's just going to depend on the market, and it usually depends on kind of the life cycle of the project, just getting entitled and then, you know, going through any challenges that occur. For commercial, I think that we'll have a couple coming online, but I think with the things that the city's doing, like the Second Street extension and providing more commercial opportunities, I think we'll see a lot more projects coming in that may be after that 2 to 4 year period.
Okay, so in your professional opinion, I'm going to rephrase the question. So in your professional opinion, do you think that we are looking at a large impact if we were to phase in at 4 years? A large impact meaning, are there greater than 5 projects that would be impacted by a 4-year phase in?
Yes.
Okay, greater than 10? I feel like I'm gonna play Price is Right. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to go that way. You don't have to go that route. Okay, and then my next question is gonna be around payment timing. Are we prepared for the changes that were mentioned to monitor when those payments would come up? So I think you referenced AB 937 or something like that. Are we prepared to be continuing to monitor when those would be due? I guess that's probably a later question, but.
Are you asking the triggers?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. That was just more informational, I think, for my thoughts. All right, I think other than that, that is what I have currently.
All right, thank you. We'll turn the time over to Mayor Pro Tem Laura.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Sorry about that. So I too appreciate the effort that staff has put forward and the consultant as well as the building industry. So what I'm looking at and the concern that I have with any type of a phasing is we've reduced the police facility to 56,000 or 56,400,000. Any type of phasing can impact the cost of that by pushing, and what I mean by that is it pushes out potential construction of that facility. Would that be a fair statement?
It would be revenue not collected, if that's what you're saying.
Okay. So the phasing is a concern because there's just no way to make that up, and I indicated that in the first. So what we've done is we've revised our wastewater. We did a revision to the capacity fee. We did a revision to the storm drain fee. We lowered the cost of the police station. We've looked at the trip generator, and we revised that. Road maintenance was revised. Transportation was revised. And so with those revisions, and this was all part of the work, the back and forth, the building association brought these items up. We've addressed everything. We also had the letter from Urban Futures that confirms calculations were done per the Mitigation Fee Act. When you go back and you look at the original fee for residential was $16.70, it's now $10.45. That's a $6.25 lower cost. That's for track. Infill is $6.26. Commercial dropped $10.27. Industrial dropped $2.35 per square foot. And then when we revised and really broke out warehouses, you've got a short-term high cube dropped $4.36. Fulfillment centers dropped $3.84. Parcel hub increased 29 cents. Cold storage dropped $4.18. So we really made an effort to do what I would call realistic fees and requests. And so I would support what staff recommends is adopting the full fee without any phasing, because there's just no way to collect that phasing, that lost revenue. And there's no way really to predict how deep that cut goes. It can be 5 million, it can be 7 million, it can be 8 million. Again, like I indicated prior, on $600 increase, I think TUMF lost, was it over 3 million? And that was just on a 1-year phasing. So it's really hard to predict. I think we've done what we've been required to do and working with our stakeholders, and I'm very comfortable with what's presented. So that's all my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir, and we'll turn time over to Mr. White.
Carol, do you mind coming back up? So I'm going to go a little bit differently.
Okay.
When do these fees, let's say you were to phase in each year, when are the fees charged? When does a developer pay these diff fees?
Typically, they're prior to final occupancy, or no, prior to issuance. Building permit issuance.
Okay, so assuming that that's when the fees would be paid, that would be based on if we did do a phased in approach, whatever phase we were in, right? How many of those projects that Councilmember Voigt brought up have or are likely to have be charged these new diff fees within the next year? And I'm not looking for a number. I guess what Jessica asked you was it a lot? So I guess I'm asking you, is this next first year a lot?
It would be a lot for residential and multifamily residential. I don't think that we'll see a large influx of permits for industrial and commercial at this time.
Okay, so the residential are already at the point where they're starting to plan when they're going to get have to pay their fees?
Correct.
And those are the people that I think we heard from the one caller. The reason I ask you that, first of all, let me back up and say, I do want to thank both the stakeholders and the staff for coming together. I agree with everyone else, at least who has spoken here so far, that this is, I think, a really good approach. I like what we did here. But I think when you do have, now you're telling me that the residentials are the ones that really will be most impacted. And if I understand, if I remember correctly, our residential went up compared to our last estimate. Is that right?
You're referring to the fee, Mr. White, or the
Yes.
estimated number of homes?
The comment that I'd heard from one of the stakeholders was, just so you know, your residential fees went up.
Okay.
That's not true?
Can we turn to that slide?
Compared to the last report?
Yes.
No, the residential went
They
down
went
compared to the last.
Compared to what the other fees are doing. Residential's not going up faster or higher than,
No, so in the last draft, residential was about $13.72 a square foot. In this draft, it's come down to $10.45 or $10.42 per square foot.
okay, thank you. And how many residential do you think would be certificate of occupancy in the next year? Do we have any idea on that number?
I don't have any idea on that right now. That's information that I could get.
Okay,
from
so here's my thought. I think that we did catch, there are some people, as Mr. Blankenship had brought up, that didn't plan for the kinds of increases we're looking at. I did hear Mr., I know him as Lou, what's his last name? Monva. Suggest, and it was already on my mind, a 1-year phase-in with 6 months amount. So in other words, if I'm looking at the phase-in schedule here, you have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year. What I would suggest is that we go to 2 year we go to 2 year now, and at 6 months we go to 3 year, and then at the end of a year we go to the full amount. So we are helping the people who are much further along in the pipeline at this point. And I would imagine that loss is going to be significantly lower than what we are concerned and worried about up here if we did it in that approach. So that's just my thoughts on this. And again, I want to thank everyone for coming together and working together on this. I do appreciate the efforts that everyone put into this. Oh, one last question, since we do have the director of the library here. The library diff fee did not change from the last time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I've got a quick question for staff. So in reference to a residential permit, when is it pulled? Is it at the time of trenching, or is it earlier in the process when grading work is done?
Which
For
permit?
for a residential home, at what point is the permit pulled?
Building permit?
Yes.
It would be after they've graded and certified the pad.
Okay, so prior to trenching, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so if we have an existing residential neighborhood, so a new home complex selling homes, and we have some graded lots that they have not started the trenching on, those permits have not been pulled yet, correct? As a general rule?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the minute they want to start construction on the individual lot, then the permit will be pulled for that. So we could assume then if we see a neighborhood for sale and they have empty land to be built upon, we can make the assumption that not all building permits have been pulled for that neighborhood, correct?
Yes, that would be a safe assumption.
Okay, so the purpose of my question was then if we do a phase-in approach where for residential, it could potentially impact the current homes that are, and the neighborhoods that are up for sale right now, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So if we were to do a phased-in approach for residential, it could potentially impact the existing neighborhoods that are up for sale today that are in Beaumont. So, for example, there's Meritage Fairways that's still selling homes. There's Altus that still has homes to complete. It would directly impact them, correct?
Correct, and actually, with AB 937, it's at C of O for residential. So you're
And for
correct.
understanding, CFO is the certificate of
Final
occupancy?
step. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So permits don't trigger the fees, correct? Pulling permits do not trigger the fees.
For residential, AB 97 dictate, come January 1st, we can only charge them up to C of O, or at C of O, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, so I understand. So fees get charged at occupancy when the home's finished and somebody's ready to move in. Okay, all right, understood. Okay, thank you.
Just
Go ahead, sir.
real quick for clarification. So we can only charge the fee at C of O, but that does not prevent a developer, once the permit is issued, of paying at the time of issuance. They can pay earlier, in other words. So typically what a developer will do is, if you have graded, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you have graded lots, typically you'll have plans in the queue or permits in the queue ready to go. Once the lot gets certified and the conditions are cleared, the permit can be issued and the developer can pay the permit, the new diff at that time. So we've got, is it a 60 days implementation?
We're recommending January 6th.
January 6th. So they've got until January 6th to clear their conditions if they have graded pads, pull those permits and pay the fee at the current fee, at the lower fee. They don't have to wait until C of O and pay the higher fee. So there is a way that the developer can get around paying the increased fee as long as their permits are ready to start construction, basically, and issue.
That's a great point. And is there a time limit then for a residential builder if they've pulled the permits that they have to complete the home by?
I think there is a term
Yeah.
limit on the permit, but I'm not familiar with it.
It's 180 days from the last inspection.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then we'll turn time over to Mr. Martinez.
Okay, just general comments first. So, again, I'm confident in the original study, I mentioned that, but I do thank the second opinion that verified that. As far as the comparison cities, thank you for that with the update. I appreciate that, and you can see the bar. We're fairly within some of our neighbors, so that's nice to see that we're not going well above. The stakeholders' input, and appreciate staff for reaching out. I did read the comments, Dan's response to DPFG, so I appreciate that as I went over those comments, and I have also talked to a few of the stakeholders as well. I just want to make sure the council realizes, and I know there's a balance here, but the projects that we're talking about are projects that we deem that were important for the city. So we need to be careful when we talk about that revenue loss, because even though the numbers, are built on assumptions and so forth, that is revenue loss that has to be made up somewhere. So we need to be careful. I did some calculating. So on my estimation for the 2-year phase-in with all categories, I think I came out with 3.4 million on the revenue loss, if that sounds right. And then I came out with 10.8 if we phased in on the 4-year. So Those are real, no, those are numbers that we have to assume. Now, that's assuming those were at build out for some of that. So I realize some of those numbers aren't really so true because some of that, was 33 years and so forth. But on the phase in, are we talking about phasing all, or are we talking about pick and choose? And could we pick and choose, say, a phase in for commercial, not for residential, or a phase for residential and not commercial and so forth? So that could be another option as well, unless we decide to do all phase. I don't know what's easier for staff. I don't want to put too much, so you have to deal with too many moving parts there. But as far as being equitable, looking at some of these numbers, I know residential's hit the hardest because they're the most, ready to go, and there's more of those now. But I just want to make sure council remembers that goal, and that goal is to build facilities that they're responsible at the 52% on a lot of those projects. I'm not in favor of the prioritized list. I think that we need to look at the whole list because we've already deemed that all of that's important. So I'm not in favor of looking at just a prioritized list, but I don't know if we've addressed that or if anyone's mentioned that yet.
I appreciate you asking, so that was going to be one of my questions to the
Okay,
council.
so that one I want more discussion on so I can see where council is on that. But as far as the phase-in, I was talking to stakeholders, and I understand that a lot of them are caught off guard, and the fees are maybe excessive to some point from their point of view. But I want to make sure we're equitable. So if there's a way that we can kind of balance, I think that's what we're trying to get at, is whether it's the 2-year or 4-year. I'm cautious on the 4-year. I like how you mentioned in order to do maybe a 2, 3, 4 maximum based on what's ready, because it also, I looked at what was in the pipeline, what is in the pipeline, and what's going to be affected now and what's going to be affected at that 2 or 3 year mark. So I'd like to hear more about the prioritized list, but I would consider a 2-year phasing. I'm not sure if I'm sold on a 4-year phasing yet. Thank you for clarifying about when the houses are going to be paying their fees, because I was confused on that. Going back, though, to commercial, and I have so many notes here. So if we were to, let's say we weren't to do any phasing, and we were just going to go ahead and start the fees now, we don't have any type of a grandfather type thing where people have their, developers have their project already in design review, or at what point are we triggering what they're paying?
Depending on if it's residential or commercial
So
industrial.
commercial only for now.
That would be a building permit when they
That would
pull
be
their
the
building
permit point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's way down the road. So if they're just on the project submittal and they're barely in the beginning
If they're in the
phase,
planning process,
yeah,
no.
that doesn't count. Okay. So if there's projects that are going through that right now and see this fee coming, they're on the hook for it if we decide not to phase, because there's no other way around that, because there's nothing that triggered the fee before the permit, right?
Correct, that's the
Okay.
trigger,
That's
it's the
the
building
trigger.
permit.
Okay, well, I'll hear more from council, but for now, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so I want to pose the question to the council then, are we in favor of all projects or priority projects? So we have Mr. Martinez's comments, and I'll add that I want it to see for all projects. Do we have a general consensus on that?
Yeah, I'm good with all projects.
Okay, Ms. Hoyt?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm okay with all projects, but I think it's necessary to maybe look at revisiting this also. Like, I think we're set out at 8 years, but do we look at revisiting it earlier than that? And would that change our decision if we decided to do something like that? I know I'm throwing kind of a wrench. Yeah, or maybe to look at it again based off of where we're at.
Initially, at least I thought I provided direction to maybe bring it back in 5 so that we could look at it, see where we're at as far as project goes.
I think that was a
don't
general
know.
consensus. Do we look at it every 5 years?
There's a policy
Or in
proposal
5?
coming forward.
Okay.
Okay,
It's not current.
okay.
That's not the policy currently,
Right.
but there's a policy coming forward.
All right. So then let's jump over to Mr. White, and then I'll later ask the question about the phasing. Go ahead.
I was assuming you were going to finish what you were going to say.
Okay, so that would, so 2 questions I had for the council. One is, do we want to do all projects, or the priority, and it looks like we're leaning towards all projects. And then the next question was, are we in favor of phasing, and if so, for how many years? It was in the presentation to us of 2 or 4 years, and it was brought up in one of the comments about a 1-year phase. And so just wanted to get the council's, consensus on that. And
Mayor, I think that we've pretty much discussed this idea about phasing. And I think I have a good idea where most of us sit on this, I think. So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion and see if it flies.
Okay.
Okay, so I will move, what's that?
No, go ahead.
We're just groaning over
You're just mumbling. It's on record, though, they can hear it.
No one's forced to give me a second.
Well, that was the mumble. Let's see what he says.
That was the mumble, huh?
So before I make the motion, let me just make one comment. It was brought up that the design standards are also, I think that one of the people who wrote in had made a comment that on top of these diff fees, they also are going to be paying increased design standard fees. The question came up before, is there a way to grandfather these fees, the diff fees in? There is not. We learned that. Is there a way, we've already set a precedent with other issues that we are not going to grandfather the design fees. So I think doing again, I'm going to propose a 1-year phase-in approach, starting with January 1st or whatever the first day was going to be, being the year. And this is across the board, all classes, if that's the right term. January 1 would be year 2 numbers, June or July 1st would be year 3 numbers, and by January, we're at year 4 numbers in just 1 year. I think that is a fair way to go. The idea of the suggestion of bringing up another nexus study would probably take 6 months, and we'd already be in the first part of my phase. So that is my motion is across all boards, a one year phase in, starting with year 2 on January 1st, year 3, July 1st, and then year 4 at January 1st, 26.
So just to clarify, Mayor, if I may ask, so that is a 4-year phase then?
No, it's a 1-year phase, but
I'm using the 4-year numbers.
Yeah. So in 6 months from now, they increase, and then in 12 months, it's the full amount.
But I'm saying January 1st will be what we're considering year 2.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, and then July 1st is what we are considering year 3. And then January 1st would be what we are considering year 4.
So how many months was that total?
12 months.
12 months total.
And I think that would be fair to the folks who are in the pipeline, where they're going to get something in within the next year. So that's my motion. I'll see if there's a second.
Do we need to approve the nexus?
January 6th. We have to do 60 days.
Well, I meant in January. January of 25, we go with year 1, or year 2, January or July, we go with year 3,
So 4
and January
phases within 1
26, we go with year 4.
Essentially, you
3
jump-
phases.
Yeah,
3,
3 phases.
but starting with the year 2 number.
Using those numbers, okay.
Right.
26.
Mr. White, I will second your motion. So can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Quick question to staff, if I may.
Sure.
That calculatable, can you do that? I mean, if I want to hear
We can do
from.
it based on the triggers, yes. If you're asking me to calculate
No.
the revenue loss, I can't
No,
do
no,
that.
no, no. You should now. No, I'm asking if that's something that is reasonable for staff to handle.
Is it manageable?
Okay,
Yes,
manageable,
absolutely.
thank you. Okay,
And I want to clarify the motion in the second. Your motion is to approve the 2 resolutions subject to the change that you stated on the record, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll continue to second that. Okay, you good with the question?
yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Okay, yes, I'll go for that.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
No.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, on to item I2, is to continue the public hearing of requests to appeal notice of finding under the development agreement, and this is with Tri Point Homes, and our staff report by Ms. Elizabeth Gibbs.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is a continuation from several meetings, actually. I received word from Tri-Point that they would like to continue their appeal public hearing to the December 3rd meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I always have the mindset of let's ask for public comments in case we have anybody on the line. So we'll open the public hearing at 7:22. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public hearing at 7:22, and I'll make a motion that we continue this. And then do we have a set date for that yet, or?
December 3rd.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, all right. So then, so the motion would be to continue this to December 3rd. Did we have any other questions or comments real quick from council?
I'll second.
Okay, so we got a second on that? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so on to item I3, a public hearing vacating a portion of Euclid Avenue and a portion of 3rd Street, and that staff report by Mr. Robert Vestal.
Thank you, Mayor. On October 1st, 2024, council established today's date to hear the public hearing for the vacation of a portion of 3rd Street and a portion of Euclid Avenue. That corner is being developed by 84 Lumber, and as part of the conditions, the city staff had recommended that they vacate these portions. For 3rd Street, it creates a uniform cul-de-sac based on Riverside County standard, and Euclid Avenue, it creates a right-of-way width more in line with a local street. The applicant's engineer, and city staff have met all the requirements for the vacation. And with that, staff is recommending that excuse me, that council waive the full reading and adopt by title only the resolution of City of Beaumont to vacate a portion of Euclid Avenue between 3rd Street and a portion of 3rd Street between Euclid Avenue and 300 feet east of Euclid Avenue. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. And we'll open our public hearing at 7:24. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. We will close the public hearing at 7:24 and turn the time over to council for comments or questions. Ms. White?
If there's no objections or comments, I'll make a motion.
Mr. White, you had your light on? You good? Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution as mentioned in the agenda packet.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. So on to our action items. Item J1, approve a second amendment to the professional services agreement with PlaceWorks to provide additional environmental services for capital improvement project P10 in the amount of $28,765 and authorize the city manager to approve any necessary change. ORD. And then our staff report by Mr. Doug Story.
Excuse me, Mayor, I'd like to move to approve recommended action on items J1 and J2.
Okay, any quick council comments or?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All right, thank you, Doug. Can we get a roll call, please?
My pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Come back,
excuse
Doug.
me. Do we have any public comments on either J1 or J2?
I have no written requests. Mia, do we have any callers on the line?
Callers.
That was no callers? Okay, all right, thank you. Roll call, please.
There might be a motion up here to make him give the staff report anyways. We have to solve the first motion, though.
Gotcha.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, Doug, you're off the hook.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you. Item K, legislative updates and discussion. Ms. Gibbs, do we have anything?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Economic development update?
I have an update I was going to do under city manager report, but I can do it under economic development. The next economic development meeting is going to be canceled, and the committee has been notified. Let me find my notes, because I was going to do it under a different item. So I wanted to update briefly council on the billboard that we've rented on the 10 freeway in Yucaipa. We have a 6-month agreement with the owner. It's $3,500 a month. We are allowed multiple refreshes. We are looking at a refresh. Council heard on October 1st the new proposal from Joel on the incentive program, and so we want to look at a refresh for that. What I'd like to do is bring that back on November 19th as an update from Julie, our PIO. She's unable to be with us tonight. She's ill. So let me make sure that's all my notes. Council, if you recall, gave several significant increases to that incentive program, including $20,000 per employee and looking at a residential incentive program. So we're going to look at a way to incorporate all of that. The contract with the billboard expires January 31st. So we'll bring it back on November 19th with some ideas. And then I'm going to recommend at that point that we renew that contract. It can go month to month at that point after the initial 6 months. So stay tuned for the update on November 19th.
Can I
That's
ask
all.
a quick question regarding that? Can we bring back if we have any return on investment from that?
Sure.
If you've had any, like, you know of any hits related to that, but bring back like a return on investment?
We generally, when we get the inquiry into the incentive program, we ask them how they heard about it, and so we can certainly bring that back too.
All right, does that cover it?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, all right. City treasurer's report, we don't have them tonight. City clerk?
I have a quick report. Attached to the agenda packet is notice of upcoming vacancies for the Planning Commission, the committees, and the Appeals Board. So the vacancies are listed on the notice, and tomorrow morning, the website will change to show the vacancies, and the applications will be available to download and submit.
Okay.
Applications will be due December 3rd, and will be brought forward on December 17th for council.
All right, I appreciate that update because I tried to click through the website and I was like, hey, I don't see it yet. So tomorrow. All right,
And
awesome.
then,
Mayor,
can I, oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Could I ask a quick
Sure.
question? If you know this, the planning commission, where are we on that? Do we have how many terms expiring?
3 seats
3 seats and
expiring.
okay, but they're all occupied right now.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And then just one point of clarification, I don't think that we will have an economic committee member vacancy anymore, correct? There was,
Is that regarding the?
Oh, we had
rescinding.
a resignation that withdrew the resignation.
Yes, his position actually comes up for term expiration December.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And so then anybody in that would just reapply if they wish to do so.
Correct.
Okay.
And they've all been contacted.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you. City attorney's report.
Nothing this evening.
All right, thank you. City manager, back to you, Elizabeth.
Couple quick announcements. The Veterans Day Parade and Memorial Plaza ribbon cutting will be Monday. The parade starts at 10 o'clock. The ceremony will be at 11 out here in our beautiful brand-new Memorial
Woohoo.
Plaza. Very excited about that. Prior to the parade, we will have our Saturday before the parade, community downtown trash pickup cleanup. We'll start here at City Hall at 9 a.m., and we're looking for volunteers for that, and that's all I have.
All right, and will there be like a little community blast that goes out for the volunteers?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a list of future agenda items or any additions to that or any changes?
I did want to make a note on one change. The structural integrity of truck routes, Robert and I met today, and we are bringing a consultant in to give that presentation. They would like, and we would like to bump that to December. It was originally scheduled for November 19th, but due to scheduling, we're going to bump that to December.
Okay, thank you. Mr. White, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to suggest a future agenda item. I think every 2 years, at least, or every 4 years, we are always having a council meeting on the night of an election night. And I think we should consider, if we can, changing our meetings when they fall on an election night to be the following Wednesday or the previous Monday. I just like to have that discussion on what we can do.
Okay, any others? All right, so we'll move on to our council reports. I'll go ahead and go first. I'll try to make it quick. So working backwards, on the 30th, I attended our Citizens Academy graduation, so appreciate the residents who stuck with it and made it through the course, and appreciate our police department for putting that on. Attended our community volunteer day where we had some folks come out and help out with some park improvements, so that was nice. We did our several versions of our State of the City Roadshow, with one final one coming up on for the Solera neighborhood this Thursday at 3 p.m. Our Four Seasons one had the most in attendance. We had over 100 residents show up, so that was very successful. On the 22nd, I attended our Citizen Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. That was very nice. We appreciate all those who help with our police department. Our Monster Mash on the 19th, there were kids everywhere. That was a fantastic activity. And then from the 16th to the 19th, I attended the Cal Cities Conference, had a few suggestions that I thought were great that I brought to our city manager's attention, who will review with staff and see if there's any additions or our services and so forth we can chase after. So with that, let's move down the row, and we'll go to Mr. Martinez first, or next.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. Cal Cities Conference was informative. I learned a lot, and the expo was great as usual. Thank you for your State of the City road tour, road show. Take it on the road, whatever it's called. Four Seasons was great turnout. Chattanooga Center worked out well as well. Beaumont PD volunteer dinner, great to see. It's a very supportive group, and I'm so glad to see that it keeps moving and we've got good turnout on. So great job, Chief, and everyone involved with that. Attended the Finance and Audit Committee, and for RCA, we adopted a wildfire management plan, and we talked about the Keel Canyon Complex, which is north of Cherry Valley, right next to Calamasa. And talked about the species there, the northern harrier and the San Diego horned lizard, which is the horned toad. And they do spit blood, that is true, out of their eyes. And then we did talk about the Bombus crotchii, or otherwise known as the Crotch's bumblebee, and how that's going to impact some of our development projects. And I know that our planning, and we've been working with RCA, it's a very unique mess, really. The state put us in a position with identifying that as a candidate species, which gives it protections similar to one that is on the list. And with that comes a whole bunch of issues that unfortunately aren't clarified by the state, and is really going to do a number on some of our projects. So hopefully we can get that worked out, and RCA strongly suggests that the agencies work with them to come up with maybe some sort of a permitting process or so in the meantime. So that is all.
So you could say you were handling your business.
Boy, this is why we don't need a meeting tonight. It's just digressing as we go. Thank you, though. You're the bee's knees. Thank you.
Mike with the dad jokes, they're awesome. All right, Ms. Voigt, your turn.
I attended the volunteer dinner as well as Finance and Audit Committee, so I will keep it short and sweet.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, your turn.
Volunteer dinner was fantastic. Had WRCOG yesterday. Nothing significant was discussed, just outside of our meeting protocol. And also just wanted to send thanks out to staff, our Public Works group, for the sidewalk work that's being done, for our Parks and Rec folks for the Monster Mash, the Trunk or Treat, all the work that they put in there. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. White, you get to close us out.
Yeah, I would also like to thank staff for the Community Day event. Appreciate that. Also the CV Appreciation Dinner. I also attended the State of the County. Unfortunately, I was 10 hours late. It was a 7 o'clock start, and I got there at 5 p.m. just thinking it was a dinner. So, anyways, that's all I have for today.
All right.
I was there.
You were there.
I was there.
Well, appreciate everybody. Thanks. Have a good evening, and we will close tonight at 7:36.
Good thing I didn't take the city council car.